From the digiMAX studios in Metamora, Illinois, it's time for the Danny Grieves Show. Here's Metamora Redbird head basketball coach Danny Grieves and host Scott Kerker.
Well, Coach, this past week you started conference play. Made an early trip over to the Panther Den over in Washington to take on the Panthers.
Our second home.
Your second home. You've played as many games on that floor as Washington has.
Yeah,
a big game, big rivalry. A little bit disappointing that it's on a Tuesday night this early in the season, but then you still went over there on Tuesday night and took on a Washington Panther team. I believe they were 2-2 at the time,
probably,
and I think you guys are 3-2 at that point. You were 3-2, and you jumped on Washington early. You limited their shots. I believe they only took 3 shots in the first quarter.
They didn't get many off.
No.
And the ones they got off, we had lost them, and they kind of got a wide open shot and knocked it down, so they took advantage of it.
Yeah, and they were all threes.
Yes.
I believe it was halfway through the second quarter when they scored a point that wasn't a three-point shot. I believe it was a free throw. And I thought defensively, you guys clamped down as hard and as well as any team I've seen Metamora clamp down on, and you guys have become known for your defense, but you really clamped down on Washington on Tuesday night.
Well, we really had to, because if you let them just shoot threes, they shoot about almost 60% of their shots are threes, and shoot about 40%. So, if you just let them stand there and shoot, they're pretty good. So we just tried to apply a little pressure and make them put it on the floor and give no help so they couldn't catch and shoot, and it worked out well for us.
It seemed like you guys were able to get your shots, and when you got your shots, you were able to knock them down, whether it be a three-point shot, a layup. I think that was the first game this year you didn't have a dunk, but still, I thought offensively, you guys moved the ball really, really well. You guys, it was almost flawless. I don't think you had a turnover in the second or third quarter.
Well, I don't know about flawless, but our kids were really dialed in.
Yeah.
And we knew if they were going to play man-to-man, it was going to be tough for them to guard us one-on-one. But our kids did a really good job of execution on our sets and our movements. Transition was good, and they were very strong taking the ball to the basket. And they knew with their lack of size that they'd have a hard time if we could just get to the rim, and that's what we did.
Yeah, you guys got to the rim countless times. I thought, I think it was 16-6 at the end of the first quarter, but that was basically on their three-point shots.
Right.
After that, when you guys started clamping down and realized, okay, they can hit those,
right,
and you put a stop to it, you really put a stop to it. And it seemed like, we were getting 3 and 4 makes to their one shot.
Well, and the good thing is we didn't give them any second and third shots, because as we scouted and looked at everybody, they go to the offensive glass as anybody we've seen all year long. They run 5 guys to the rim, and when they shoot that many threes, there's going to be some scattered rebounds available, and they've always done a pretty good job, and I thought our kids did a pretty good job of limiting those.
I thought a key to the game was early, I believe, in the second quarter, both Ethan Kaiser and Tyson Swanson got into a little bit of foul trouble, and you brought in Luke Hopp and Nick Walker.
Right.
And I thought both of them gave you great minutes.
We didn't miss a beat.
No.
As far as defense, offense, our rebounding might even got better.
Mm-hmm.
Hopp came in and did a nice job in the post for us. He's a hard guard. On offense, he can bring the ball up on a defensive rebound and distribute the shot. If you don't guard him, he'll knock down the three.
And he's 6'8".
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was nice. And Walker, I don't know, I think maybe he had 1 or 2 baskets maybe, but I thought defensively he did a nice job.
He's so athletic, and he's such a competitor. If he gets into you, you're going to have a hard time getting around him or getting a shot off. He does a really nice job.
And I thought that was big for your kids to be able to do that. And it wasn't then you didn't have to force one of the other guys, Swanson or Kaiser, to come in with 2 fouls, possibly pick up that third in the first half. You were able to rest them that whole second quarter, and then that third quarter when you guys just exploded again. I believe they only scored 3 points in that third quarter.
I think they had 4 because they scored 4 in the third and 4 in the fourth.
Okay.
Because they outscored us 4-3 in that fourth quarter with the running clock. And it was running in the third quarter. It ran for about 5 minutes, And so, but the bottom line is we came out pretty focused in that third quarter, and everybody was well rested, and we just took it right at them.
You know, the big thing about it is and you probably know this already, that when you play Washington again, I think it's late in January, early February when they come back to Metamora, they're probably going to be a better team than they were that night.
Oh, they're going to be much better. They already are.
Yeah.
You know, the lessons they learned playing us the way they did, you know, that was just a tester because they know they're probably going to see us down the road, not just in the Middle Illini again, but, you know, in the regional.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, here they have a regional.
Yep. And, you know, the thing about Washington is they're always going to play hard. They're always going to be well coached. And, you know, you might be able to lay one on them like you did on Tuesday night, because at 62-25,
right.
Probably, well, we believe it's the largest margin of victory in the Metamora Washington rivalry. You know, going back to whenever they started, we only have records going back to 68, but that's the largest margin of victory from either team that we can find so far.
Our kids played well.
They played awfully well, and you know, you didn't have anybody that just stood out. It was pretty balanced scoring, and as a coach, you got to be pretty happy with that.
Oh, most happy, because a lot of times you can throw the records out and the talent out in a rivalry like that, and you couldn't do it this time. Our kids were really focused, and it didn't matter who they were playing. It was, you know, they came out and they kind of barnstormed in a couple quarters.
Yeah, it certainly was. Great night, great crowd, great pep band. It was a loud night.
Everything you want in a high school basketball game on a Friday night.
Yeah, except it was on a Tuesday.
Right.
And that was the only thing that I thought was kind of bad. And the other thing, you know, they have this goofy thing in the Middle Illini now where they have girls games on the same night, and I just think that's something that's kind of, at some point, hopefully that'll get changed.
Right.
But it kind of drew away from a little bit of the crowd, probably. But nonetheless, you know, you guys came out with a big win to go 1-0 in the Middle Illini.
And a great crowd.
Great crowd. It was maybe not completely sold out, but a big crowd.
Our fans showed up.
Yes, they did. And it was nice, really nice to see. Then he came back on Friday night and played another rival, Morton, at our place. First home conference game of the year.
Right.
A big game. Morton comes in at 5-1. Mm-hmm. You know, they were, for whatever reason, they got a little bit of they match up in spots pretty well with us.
Yes, they do. And their one loss, they only got beat by 2 points by Central.
On that same Tuesday
who's
night.
awful good this year, too. They're solid.
They're solid. Yes, they are. And so, you know, that was not a bad loss for them. That looks good on their resume.
Right.
But you get them at our place, us coming off the big win. Was it somewhat of a trap game?
Not really, just another night.
Just another night for Metamora. They played awfully well. They came out with a 1-2-2 zone, I believe.
Right.
And probably a little bit unexpected, maybe.
No, we've watched enough of them to know that they could play some zone. They played quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can extend it, you know, full court, three-quarter court. They even tried to jump you one time as we came across the timeline.
Yeah.
So we knew they had it, and it didn't surprise me that they tried it. You know, why not? They just saw a Washington game a couple nights earlier where we just picked them apart.
Right.
Versus man-to-man, and Washington didn't switch.
Right.
But, you know, they will next time, I imagine, and kind of feel us out. Morton did the same thing, but they just jumped into it, and we're going to stick with it, and it worked for them.
You know, things have been going pretty well for your kids. Mm-hmm. The week before, you played Lincoln Park, and a pretty solid game in that one. Then you came out Washington, like we talked about.
Right.
Had things go your way. Things didn't quite go as well for you Friday night. We just didn't have that, whatever it is that.
Well, we go 7 for 24 from the three. We got a right guy shooting it. You know, some nights are like that.
Yeah.
And but we do have to learn that if you miss time and time again on the same shot, then try to shoot a different shot. How about a little pull-up? How about a good shot fake and get to the rim, get fouled, get to the line? And when you're not shooting, all shooters are going to go through it where they're not going to be on. And unfortunately, we had quite a few the same night. Now, fortunately, we had one that wasn't. He was on like nobody's business.
Tyler Mason was almost automatic.
Yeah.
He was automatic just about from the line.
12 or 13 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, just missed the one
Yeah.
free throw, and he pulled you out. He had 28 points.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about him also here in a little bit. But the thing I thought that impressed me was as poorly as we were shooting the ball,
Because we were.
I thought your team's effort, hustle, was still outstanding.
Well, the effort was there, the hustle was there, and the belief in that we were going to win it no matter what was still there. They didn't flinch. They didn't blink.
Right.
You know, the moment wasn't too big for them again. And you know what? And we need those moments.
Oh.
You have a lot of growth in those kind of moments.
Yes.
You know, and so I think, like I told them in the huddle with inside 2 minutes, I go, you know, we got to be thankful that this game is close. All right, because now we're going to see what we're made out of. You know, do we have a 2-minute game in us? Let's see what we can do.
Showed a lot
And
of
that's
heart.
kind of, we broke it down, and yeah, they did a nice job with it.
Yeah, you know, and we talked about this before we went on air. You know, style points don't count for anything in December. It's just the wins and losses. That's all that counts.
Or January or February or March
Right.
either, but
Well,
you're right.
You know, you want to start playing your better ball in January and February and early March,
Yeah.
because
We proved there's a lot of room for improvement.
without
You know,
question,
ain't no doubt, but we'll get there.
Coach, it was last week as a coach. I would almost look at that as being your perfect week. You saw how good you could be,
Yeah.
and yet you also saw how much you can improve.
Right, and we had improved a lot since the Yorkville game,
Oh.
first game of the season. You know, and I'd love to have that Winter Haven game back because I think we're a much better team than them. They probably are too, but they were a little bit farther along in the season. And I think right now, as far as Morton goes, they played really well. I don't know if they can play much better as far as what I know of the kids and the scouting reports and the film shows. Maybe they can, but we've got to do better in some things that were glaring once we broke the film
Right.
down, and our kids saw that, and so there'll be a lot of growth coming out of that win,
Right.
which could have been worse, could have been a loss.
Yeah.
But the kids showed some intestinal fortitude and, you know, came through and did what they had to at the end.
And you don't want to be peaking in December.
No.
no. I remember last year. You know, a lot of people. Oh, we're struggling. You know, we go to the grill after the game, and oh man, I just don't know. We played so well Tuesday, and now we're just not consistent. I keep reminding them. You know, last year we played East Pierre at our place, and we won by 1.
Right.
We played Pekin at our place, and I think we won by 3.
Growth is a labor of love. Sometimes, man, it's tough love.
It
you know,
is.
and,
It is.
You know, we had some losses last year that helped us move our growth along also. So, you know, it's part of the season. You know, it's kind of crazy, though. The core of the season's already over.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. And it happened kind of fast. And, you know, now we've got 3 more games before our Christmas break and 3 down there in Mississippi. And before you know it, it'll be half the season's over.
Yeah. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, when you're having fun, time flies.
Well, I really have the kids try to make sure that they are always going to be in the moment. Enjoy it for what it is, no matter how tough of game it was on Morton. You know, I got them up and said, hey, we're going to enjoy this. We're going to celebrate it.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. And, you know, we went back to work the next day. Go down to the grill, get something to eat, enjoy your night, ready to go.
Yep, and they were most all of them were there.
Yeah.
And you know, like I've said before, a win is a win.
Right.
And you know you're a special team. You know you have a special group of kids when, you know, you played. You know, I don't want to say your worst game, but you played a pretty poor game. The other team
not
played,
our best game.
and the other team played as well as you.
And they had something to do with that.
And they did have something
Yeah.
to do with that. And yet you still were able to pull out a victory.
Because that's always still a really tough matchup. Anytime, you know, I'm thinking about it. We haven't had a day off since we started. And we've gone straight through with tough games. And, you know, your first 2 games or 3 games, because Lincoln Park was pretty good, out of a Thanksgiving tournament. You know, and it's your 2 biggest rivalries
Yep.
that are more than likely the 2 best other teams in the conference, year in and year out. And you got Pekin, you know, you could name the rest of them, but those 2 mainstays are, and then you got them back to back. So gave them the day off. I hope they enjoy
On
it.
Sunday.
Yeah.
And that always helps. I'm sure the kids were awfully happy to have the day off.
And most of them have already been in there shooting.
Yeah,
But it's different,
It's different. It's different. It's on their terms.
Yes, it is.
And so, yeah, you're right. It is. The thing I really enjoy about this team, and you talk to, a lot of old timers, because now you're starting to get a lot of these older guys that have no ties to Metamora basketball or Metamora High School anymore. They just live in town,
right?
And they're going to the games, or they're watching us on TV,
right?
And they're starting to realize that this team is fun to watch. I know a guy came up to you the other night in the grocery store and told you about what a great game he had, and that's awfully fun.
That happens a lot, and it helps that it is on TV. But our fans really come to our games too. They don't just stay home because it's convenient.
Because
they come and support.
Because there's an atmosphere.
There's nothing like being at one of our games.
No, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
You can watch it at home, and that's great for the people that can't get to the game. But if you can get to the game, you can get because the added thing is you get the atmosphere.
Sure.
And there's a lot to be said about that, and it is fun. And
throughout the years, when other players come back and I run into them, they go, "Coach, we always loved going to your place to play." And they usually play well. I mean, there's not many teams come in here and tank.
No, we always get everybody's best effort.
Yeah, we do.
Because you've got to play hard if you're going to beat Metamora.
Yeah.
And you can, if you play really, really hard, it'll get you in the game. But if you're not going to come with that same intensity, you're going to get blown out.
Right.
And that's the one thing I've always enjoyed about these games is, like you always say, up 20 or down 20, you're going to get the same effort.
Right.
And they have been. And it's you play the game. You go, all right, I can't wait for Tuesday night.
Right.
And pretty soon you're thinking, oh my gosh, we've only got 8 games left. We've only got 4 games left. That's the bad part of that. But
that's true.
It is fun. It is fun to see, the growth, because your team is starting to really start to grow. And I think that Friday night
I think
game,
our guys can feel a little bit. And, but it's tough trying to be champs, and it's tough trying to, when you have high goals like that, people have to make commitments and sacrifices. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the players alone can do it and deal with it, but other people can't. And then so there's other pressures on them about trying to be more as far as the scoring or playing time or assertive or whatever it might be. And if you just let the teams figure it out, they do pretty good. Mm-hmm. And our team did a great job of that last year.
Yeah, and I think it looks like that's starting to be that way again this year. You got most of those kids back. So
yes.
The camaraderie there is, they just want to get wins.
But the pecking order is still different.
It is different.
And it's a total different look in that respect. Mm-hmm. And it's leadership by committee instead of by Schroeder.
Yeah.
And so, so they've been working on that too. And I'd always told them that right now, and at the beginning of the year, that was one of our biggest Achilles heels. And when we take care of that, they'll play their best ball, and they're working on it. So, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was this.
No, it's not. But Coach, why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we'll have the players of the game for both Washington and Morton.
Sounds good.
Central Illinois, you asked for it, and we listened. Germantown Grill is growing, adding more dining space and a private gaming area featuring games powered by Gold Rush, the gold standard in video gaming. The game's on at Germantown Grill, off Route 116.
Sure, starting to shove, I got to get down.
Welcome back to the Danny Grieves Show. Coach, the first player of the game for the Washington game will be Drew Tucker. Had just an outstanding game. We'll let you talk about him for a minute here, but outstanding. One of your senior leaders. He has been, there's nights where you ask him to score a lot of points, and then there's nights you've asked him to just shut the other team's guy down, and he's been outstanding.
And he just prays that I let him guard the other team's best player, because that's the kind of competitor he is. It's fun to watch him get after somebody, Not only that, but also just run our team and score and keep us organized.
Yeah, he's been a great player for you.
Yeah.
The 3-year starter, and those guys are invaluable, and you've got 3 of them.
Yes.
And Drew Tucker has been, to me, he's kind of the glue that holds this team together. And as
our point guard, he does a fantastic job of getting us where we need to be. And I know a lot of times by committee we bring the basketball up, but when it's all said and done and we need a set play or we need to do something in particular, once you get the ball in his hands, it's going to get to go where it needs to be on time and in the flow. And that's invaluable as a coach. He is a coach on the floor for us. He runs us.
Yes, and this is basketball is a guards game.
Yes.
And if you have good guards, you're generally going to win. I've always said that in the last 15 or 20 years or so, the team that has the best guards almost always wins. And you've got two of them. And we'll talk about the other one.
I've got more than two. I list them all as guards.
Yeah, you list them all as guards.
On a given night, I got about 5 guards.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And they're pretty solid. But your two main guys, and we'll talk about your second one here in a minute, they've come to play just about every night.
They have.
And Drew Tucker is, he's the guy on your team, and both of them have a little bit of that chip on their shoulder and a little bit of that, I want to say cockiness.
Great competitive spirit.
Yes.
As my dad would say, he's got a little moxie.
A little moxie. They both have that.
True.
And they both have a little bit of that, you may beat me, but you're not, you may win on this little battle, but you're not going to beat me.
True.
And that's what I love about both of them. And Drew Tucker's been outstanding this year. Great competitor. And like you said, he just begs you to let him guard the other team's best players. And man, has he done a great job.
His effort every day in practice, doesn't matter if it's in the weight room, in a drill, right before practice, just shooting in our warm-up drills. I mean, he's always locked in. And you love to be around a guy like that because it's contagious. And other people, kind of emulate what he's doing if they want to be successful. So he's been a real joy to see him grow. I mean, he's a big, strong boy.
Yes, he is.
He was good last year, and he got knocked around a little bit and threw his body everywhere.
Yeah.
Man, there's times that he would get knocked down and go, man, I don't know if he's getting back up. Or, but now this year he's doing the knocking down.
Yeah, he is. You're right. Last year he got knocked down a lot. There was times where it almost
took a lot of hits.
Oh, it seemed like he was on the floor more than he was standing upright.
Yeah.
This year he's doing a little bit of the knocking around a little bit,
is.
and it's good to see. And the thing I'll always remember about Drew Tucker is you guys were playing the first round, or your first round of the regional over at Richwoods, playing against Richwoods, and at the early third quarter, he gets the ball on the wing down in the corner. He goes baseline and goes up and tomahawk dunks it. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a 6'2" guard that just went up and over a 6'4" guy and tomahawk dunked it, and it was over. That game was over.
He can jump, man.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to do well this year in track. He's going to try the high jump and baseball.
Wow.
How much fun will that be? What an athlete. Great competitor.
Wow.
I love watching him, play and practice, and he'll be surely missed when he's gone.
Yeah, you will. A great guy to have, though, for your team, and he's done wonders. Your next player of the game was for Friday night, was Tyler Mason, and just did an outstanding job. He carried you guys 28 points. Like we talked about his free throws.
15 to 16 for the night, 12 to 13 in the fourth quarter.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And he pretty much carried you guys. There's going to be nights where somebody's going to have to take the bull by the horn and just take the team on his shoulders and carry you. You haven't had to worry about having one guy do that very often in the last couple of years.
but if you've watched in certain games this year, even in key parts of the game, it's been 5 or 6 guys step up. It's not just been one.
Right.
But then you talk about who's been steadiest, and it's Tyler Mason. From the get-go, from game 1 to game 7, he's been the guy.
Yeah, and he and Drew kind of have that same kind of the same moxie. They both are, they don't take anything from anybody else. They're the rocks on the floor.
But they've worked so hard at their skills and working on their bodies and staying in great shape. Their confidence level is out the roof because they put in the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one a guy can come out and act like it. It's another guy to do it.
Yeah.
And both those guys can.
And they've been amazing for you guys. Mason has been the player of the game a couple times, I think 3 times this year already, and he's been outstanding. Last year as a sophomore, you missed him. the lion's share of that second half. But when he came back right before the postseason started,
Right.
that's when your team really took off.
Yep.
And in the
He
postseason,
brought another dimension.
Yes.
You know, especially when you can bring a guy off the bench like that, that's probably as good or better than anybody that you're playing has already got on the floor. That's kind of nice.
Yeah. And he wasn't afraid of the kids from Simeon. He took it right to them.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that he had an older brother, Gabe, that probably, took it to him out on the driveway.
You know it.
And Gabe was this 6'5" kid that
Yeah.
probably beat up on him, and that's what brothers do. That's what they're for.
Yeah.
So now he's had his chance to be in the spotlight. With this team that's got a lot of kids,
Right.
And he's found his niche. And your guard play is as good as it's been, maybe since you've been at Metamora.
Probably the best two guards I've seen is probably Joliet West.
Oh,
But I tell you what, we were right with those kids.
yes.
Right up to the end, and I think, you give us a couple more games under our belt before we played them, and had a day or two to prepare, we'd have been right there. And I'll take my guards against anybody in the state.
Yeah, I agree with you. And,
I'm not giving one of them up. I'll keep every one of them.
keep every one of you. You're not going to make a
Yes.
trade.
No.
No. Coach, it's a fun, it's a journey.
Yeah.
And so far, this journey has been awfully
And it's a
fun.
marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon, not a sprint,
And,
that's for sure.
But like I told our kids, I said, but practices are sprints every day. All right, and that's where we're going to get better to get prepared for our next game. And so we bust our tail in practice. Tell them practices are hard, games are easy,
Yes.
and they believe that.
When you look at the rest of the Mid-Illini Conference, I still believe East Peoria is going to be a tough team.
Oh, there's no doubt.
They were
They're
good.
they're as
last
good as
year.
anybody.
And
On a
yes.
given night, they're as good as us.
Yes. They got the kid that transferred over from Manual to go along with just about everybody
And
back.
John he does a fantastic
Yeah.
job. He's one of the hardest coaches to prepare for because he's that good.
Yeah, they're good. I think Limestone's going to be improved.
Yes.
Another year under the belt with their coach over in Pekin. I think they're going to be a tough team. They're always just a tough team to prepare against and play against, especially at their place.
And Hunter Rhodes at Canton.
Oh.
If anybody can ever revive that program, it's Hunter Rhodes.
Yeah.
And so he I'll tell you what, on any given night, the way they shoot at times, you know how it is when you go out to Canton.
Oh yeah.
We got beat there my first year.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure
You did. You're right. That's a tough.
Rhodes brothers
I think
put it on us.
Yeah, it was him and his
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I never let him forget that either.
yeah.
Right as we beat him every year.
This is payback.
Yeah, remember that 12 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Coach, we'll let you get going here, but thank you so much, and
Appreciate
congratulations, 2-0 in the Mid-Illini Conference. You're 5-2 on the year.
Yes.
And it's just the beginning of what's going to be a great year.
Certainly hope so.
We'll see you Tuesday night at Metamora.
Happy holidays, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Join us next week for another edition of The Danny Grieves Show.